is up, my friends? Holy crikey. It's been a while. It's been a while, hasn't it? I haven't seen you guys in a while. Happy to see you. Hello. Welcome to Katie Church. Just a little reminder in case you're new here, the term church is used comedically, ironically, and somewhat reverently here. I mean, frankly, to call something your own name church is either like deeply arrogant or a joke and a comment on what church is. What is church? I mean, boy, we could talk about that all hour, but I think what I want to say about it is this is a place where I want to be exploring the nature of consciousness, talking about the divine, bringing tools of consciousness and divinity, as it were, to your life in a practical way. So we're learning a kind of theology, I guess, or cosmology. What is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of consciousness? That's cosmology, is the study of that. Ontology, the study of being. What is it to be? What is it to exist? And how does all that relate to energy healing and divine light transmission? So anyway, just a little reminder that we're not a typical church here. But I'm into God, but in a way that isn't very churchy. So when you call it Katie Church, you're doing it as a joke. You get the point. All right. What are we talking about today? First of all, I've missed you guys. I haven't been here because I've been so slammed and busy with like new fun creative projects blended with just all kinds of healing stuff. And it's just been impossible to do this. So I'm happy to be able to be here today. So we're going to talk about this notion of the difference between awareness and emotional responses to reality. Awareness versus feelings, awareness versus even like intuition. Like what is awareness, right? So there's so many people with so many ideas on this topic. It's a bold thing to undertake discussing this in an hour's time, but there's a lot of things to say about it. The first thing I'll say is that if you're a person who has emotional responses in your life, meaning, so we could use, there's a lot of language to discuss. We can use human design parlance to understand ourselves and say, you're either somebody with emotional definition or you're not. Emotional definition simply means part of how you come to decisions in your own life has everything to do with riding something we call the emotional wave, where you're going to get a big yes on something and a no and a yes and a no and a yes and a no, and then it's going to even out into some kind of awareness of what is going to bring the most fulfillment. If you're a generator, the most success. If you're a projector, and so on and so forth. So in that framing, that's what we mean by emotional responses versus awareness. Awareness for someone with emotional definition in human design would be what you come to after, once you've ridden through the emotional wave and you've arrived at a kind of correct feeling, emotionless, chargeless clarity that is, depending on your design, it's going to feel different ways. So if you have the emotional wave and like no other definition in your chart except your head and ajna, that's going to be very different than if you have the emotional wave and you have definition in your sacral center and your fucking spleen and your G center. That's a whole different animal. And so attempting to describe the difference in those feelings is impossible because the charts are so dynamic. It could feel like any number of things. The point being, that's the human design framing of it. But let's take it even out of human design level esoteria and just talk about human beings and their feelings and how we arrive at awareness. You guys have all heard the ideas about mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is really popular in the last 20 years way of talking about having witness consciousness, or in human design parlance, passenger consciousness, where there's a part of you watching everything that's going on inside yourself. So let's say something happens in my life and I feel very sad. There's still a part of me separate from the sadness that is watching the sadness occur. The part of me that is watching the sadness occur can wait to say words to somebody about the sadness, or the part of me that is watching the sadness occur can just act on the sadness. Let's use a different example. If I'm really angry at somebody and you pissed me off, and I feel like saying to you, "Fuck off, buddy, you pissed me off." The part of me that is watching the anger can choose to wait until that anger passes to communicate how I'm feeling, because the part of me that watches is not emotionally necessarily affected. Now, here's where people get into trouble. Squeezle is all over this room right now. Can you pick a location and take a seat? Squeeze, Squeezle, come over here. We're doing a thing. Your presence is important. We need you seated and focused. Listen, since we've been living in this house and she has 2 yards over which she has dominion entirely, she thinks she runs the whole damn world, which, of course, as we all know, she does. When we refer to God, we're talking about Squeezle the dog, the red terrier chihuahua who lives in my house. Okay, great. Now that we're clear on that. So the part of me that witnesses my anger can make a choice about what I do with my anger. Where we get in trouble, particularly spiritual people or people who are on a consciousness path. By the way, I forgot to do this. Who's here? Say hi in the comments. I've missed you guys. Just shoot me a little hi, I'm here, so I know who's here. When we get into consciousness, what we are not saying, when I say to you, there's a witness self and there's the emotional self, I'm not saying don't have your emotions and just become the witness self. What I'm saying is what I would actually overtly like to say in this 10 seconds is we need to have our emotions if you're a person who has them. And because your definition may make you pretty not emotional, although all people have feelings, let's be clear. And it's just people with the emotional definition are going to express them outwardly more so and more clearly and in a fixed, reliable way. Whereas people with no emotional definition in their design, they're still going to feel feelings, but they're not going to be the ones expressing them outwardly in a consistent, reliable way. Hi, guys. Hi, Jacqueline. Hi, Bill. Hi, Rahima. Good to see you guys. Thanks for saying hi. Yeah, if you're here, just shoot a little hi into the old comments so I know who's here. But for all of us as human mammals having emotions, we're meant to have them, experience them, and watch them at the same time. But that doesn't mean squash them, don't have them, make them smaller, diminish their meaning, diminish their value, diminish their purpose. It means have them, feel them, be with them, take them seriously, honor them, acknowledge them, and wait until they've neutralized a bit and you have a little more clarity about what's actually going to work. I find that awareness, right? What I'm aware of past my emotional response to life is oftentimes the correct choice to make. But my emotional, like in terms of communicating to people or getting needs met or setting boundaries. But in the meantime, I need to have the feelings I'm having. So this is where it gets complicated when you have like relationships with human beings. You can't always go away from them until your feelings are done and then come back with all the awareness of like what you want to say. So one of the best tools we can apply in dealing with other human beings is naming our feelings without attaching meaning, blame, judgment, attacking, victimization to the feelings. So an example of that would be like, you do it, I don't know, you and I are dating and you don't show up to our date. Now I feel hurt. And if it's me, I'd probably go to anger first. And I'm like, fucking, what the fuck is this bullshit? Then I realize like I'm embarrassed here at the restaurant by myself and I feel some shame. And I'm like sad, like, do you not like me? And I'm writing a whole narrative, what happened? Then I'm worried about you. Did you get in a car accident? I got all kinds of emotional shit going on. But awareness, tells me, okay, these are narratives I could create and believe into. Or I could ask a question. Texting you, I might say, hey, I notice you're late. Are you okay? And you might write back, oh my God, my phone died. And then I got a flat tire. And I might go, oh my gosh, okay, what can we do? I'll meet you there. Where are you? And the problem is solved. If, however, I had stayed with the emotional reaction I was having, I'm hurt and then I'm angry at you, without finding out what's actually going on, now I'm going to text you, well, fuck you too. Or like, why did you leave me here? I thought we had something good going on, which is the more sort of sad sack victim-y version of that. Awareness would be checking out reality before you react, like believe in the emotions that are happening through your system. Reality is complex and dynamic when you're in relationship to other humans, which we all are all the time. So, checking out reality can be a great tool to help you understand, oh, here's reality. Like, check asking questions. Is this reality? It seems like this is happening. And therefore, I'm feeling like this. But is that what's happening? I'll give you an example. This happened today in a writing class of mine, a student of mine who I've worked with a long, long time in writing class. She's just, I just adore her. Very talented writer, very smart, very open, evolved person. She's just a very cool person. Said something that landed to me like she was being very flip and very like, I gave her some like intense useful feedback that was like took me a while to formulate the words, and it took bravery and courage to say the words. And she was like, yeah, I did that thing and blah blah blah, and it felt really flip, like she was dismissing me or blowing me off. So I said, so when you said that just now, it seemed to me like you were blowing off what I said, and it seemed a little flip. Is that how you meant for it to sound, or am I misunderstanding what you meant? And then she said, no, oh God, no, actually what I meant was, yeah, I know you said to do that, but like, and I did it. So here it is, but probably I didn't do it. Like she was commenting on, I probably failed at this and didn't do it correctly. But what I heard was, your stupid, weird little idea. Yeah, I did your stupid idea. So I fully misunderstood what she was trying to communicate. Whether that was because of how she communicated it or because of my life and whatever my shit is irrelevant. What's relevant is getting the clarity on what she meant so that I can respond in reality. Because reality is she meant X. My twisted reality was I heard Y. So how am I supposed to trust my emotional reaction? I was starting to have big feelings over here because I do have emotional definition in my design, which means I'm going to be someone who's got all the feelings and you can feel them coming off me all the time when they're happening. And I'm also going to be the one expressing them when everybody else is being quiet and holding it all in. Please hold while I hydrate. So I did a reality check with her. She clarified reality for me. And then that allowed me to go, oh, got it. I was reacting emotionally to something you didn't even say. Now I can totally reframe my reaction, which requires that I be aware and conscious enough to not be so stuck in the first emotions I was having that I can't pull myself out into the realm of awareness. So all of this is a long-winded way of saying there is something inherently unemotional about awareness. And this is a tricky thing to say because this can sound to people like I'm saying your emotions are bad and wrong. They're not. I have them all day, every day. And I'm good with them. Finally, after 25 years of working with it and trying to figure out how to get okay with them. What I know above all else is that my first emotional reaction to life is 9 times out of 10 way oversized. It's outsized. It's too big. It just is. So my job is with the Katie Rubin organism anyway, just wait until it settles down. And if once it settles down, I still need clarity because I'm still activated, I'm going to ask a question to clarify before I go in guns a-blazing, expressing my big fat feelings. So notice that's me staying with my feelings, allowing them to fully exist, knowing what they are, admitting what they are, letting them pass through my body, which is what feelings do. By the way, they're called emotions because they are energy in motion. They come up and they move out. They come up and they move out. But that whole process gets really impeded when we have judgment of our emotions. So the minute you go, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and I shouldn't feel like that, and I shouldn't be so angry, and I shouldn't be so sad, and I shouldn't have be so sensitive, and I shouldn't. Well, you are. So the trick is you need to become, each of us needs to become a healthy, loving container. Excuse my cough. It's actually heartburn, which is really lame. I'm bummed about it. I'm angry and sad that it's heartburn that makes me cough because it means I have to give up my favorite addiction. You guys have heard me talk about it forever, espresso, and I don't want to give it up. I take this really great supplement. It's a powdered supplement that my naturopath in Colorado connected me with that, like, if I stop taking it for a while, the espresso starts to make me cough like crazy. And then I start taking it all the time. And then I like stay off espresso for 3 days. And then I go back to it and it's okay because I've been taking the supplement. So I'm in a total addictive cycle with espresso, which all of you know because I talk about it all the time. Anyway, so what we each are trying to become is a healthy, which this is totally related to my espresso addiction. I'll bring it back around to that in a second. So we each are aiming to become healthy containers for our emotions. So if you say things and I feel sad and I fully let the sadness come up and I let it happen all through my body, and then I say to you like, hey, when you said that, it made me feel really sad. I think you meant blank. Is that what you meant? Because it made me feel terrible. And then you go, oh my God, no, what I really meant was bibbity boo. And I can go, oh my God, thank you so much. I was feeling so bad. And that's not even what you meant. Thank you. And we hug and we're all good friends again. Or I might say to you like, hey, when you said that, I felt really sad. Is that what you meant? You might say, yeah, that's what I meant. And then I might have to reconcile with that and go, shit, I'm sad now. And I get to stay with that and become a loving container for that. So we don't have guarantees in life that the people in front of us are going to say to us what we want to hear or say words that make us feel the way we want to feel. But once you understand and empower yourself with the awareness that you get to have all the feelings you're having, that your feelings are not wrong. If you're willing to be a container and a space through which all your feelings can emerge, exist, come up, and move through, there's nothing that can really take you down, and you don't really have to be afraid of anything ever. Because the worst that's going to happen is you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel a feeling you don't want to feel. And then you can ask to get your needs met, and you'll either get them met or you won't. And if you don't get them met, you can get them met somewhere else, or you yourself can meet them. So there's really nothing to be afraid of around intimacy at the end of the day. The only thing to be afraid of is if you're actively harming people or causing pain to people, you want to probably not do that because then people will leave you and then you'll be alone and confused. And or if you're hanging around people that are emotionally immature, who can't handle when you have a true, sincere, vulnerable need or feeling, and they shame you for it or judge you for it or react to it or gaslight you around it, then you're hanging around with people who you need to have a conversation with and see if they can show up in a better way. Now, remember that the topic is awareness versus emotional responses to life. Allow me to hydrate once again. So one aspect of this, it's not a dichotomy, but we'll call it one for the sake of language, is understanding that your emotions have to happen. They need to come up. They need to move. They are energy in motion. When you repress them, they just get louder and they come at you from the back door, or they come at the person in front of you from the back door. That's the thing to know about emotions. When they don't get expressed and they get repressed or bottled up, they find a way out. It's just usually in a very unconscious, unhealthy way. Okay. That's one thing to say about emotions and awareness. Another thing to say about emotions and awareness is that oftentimes, watch this trippy, weird thing about being a person. As your emotions are happening over time and shifting and changing every 10 seconds, if you're anything like me, right? If as you're like first you're mad and then you're hurt and then you're confused and then you're not sure if that's what they meant and then you're mad again and then you're tired and then you're distracted and then you're mad again and then you're sad and then you're lonely. If as that's going on, if you can stay with the process, what you will find is that over time, the journey of going from mad to sad to confused to lost to sad and scared to lonely to mad is actually teaching you something. It's giving you information about what's actually going on. But you can only get the information from the feelings if A, you're willing to feel them, and B, you're willing to ask some intelligent, wise questions of the emotions as they're moving through. Let me try to give an example about this. Also, let me say a third thing. Another thing that helps with being emotional and watching the emotions move and feeling them as they move is understanding a few things conceptually about like reality and what's true in reality. Okay, so let me see if I could come up with a good example to make this particular point. Okay, here's one. This is a little abstract, but okay, here we go. Let's say, so in my years as an actor, right? And I, by the way, I'd like to share with the group, I just got cast in a musical. Oh, what? It's my first one in 3 years. I wasn't sure I would do them anymore. And then I auditioned and I got cast and I'm very excited. So I'll tell you more about that as it comes closer. We got many months before it's happening, but boy, was that fun and exciting and quite a journey. So it's a good time. Okay, so in my years as an actor in California, there were so many times where I would go on an audition, not hear back from the people. Days later, hear, we'd like to call you back. And a callback is when you get to go back a second time and like win the job. But when you're called back, it's with way fewer people. So now it's like you and 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other people for one role instead of you and everyone they called in for the first round. So there have been many times where I've been called back for something, which means you're high on their list. They watch you do your magic in your callback. And then, thank you, Rahima. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm very excited. I get to sing a show-stopping number. It's very loud and big and dramatic, just like me. It's very exciting. So you get called back. Maybe you think you nailed it. So I've come out of so many auditions like nailed it. I sang the shit out of that. Or like I did that monologue. Get home, days go by, nothing. Now my emotional awareness is going, thanks, Jenny. Hi, Jenny. You're here. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so you don't hear back from them. I would not hear back from them. And then I would go into like, wow, I guess I didn't book it. Sad. Mwah, mwah. Then a couple more days go by and then it's like, wow, I really didn't book it. I wonder why. Maybe it's because they wanted someone who looked better. Like, was I pretty enough? Like I'm too old now and I'm looking frumpy and they wanted like a skinny, pretty girl. This is a narrative my mind is starting to create around an emotional reaction, sadness that I'm having in response to somebody's behavior, them not emailing me. Then I get to go, hold on. I'm writing a narrative about why I haven't heard from them that has nothing to do. I have no idea if why I haven't heard from them has anything to do with the narrative I'm writing. So many times what would happen on this emotional roller coaster of casting for me would be the 100% opposite thing of what I thought was going on would end up happening. So I'd either book the job and they'd be like, you were great. It took us a while to get back to you. Thanks for your patience. You're in. And I'd be like, wow, I'm amazing. Look at all my talent. Look at me getting to do the thing I love doing. Right back up to excited and happy. Then, that means I got to like learn my lines and like show up to rehearsal and like do a good job and like keep my body healthy and hydrate a lot so that I can do all these 9 shows a week for 9 weeks. Oh shit, now I'm feeling scared and sad and uncertain and insecure. because I'm not sure I could do all that. It's a lot to do a play. And then you do opening night and you nail opening night and they get a standing ovation. And you're like, we have the best play ever. I'm so good at my job and I feel so confident and good and I'm ready to go. And then the next night, nobody claps. And then the reviewers come and they don't like it and they give it a bad review. And then you're like, this whole thing was pointless. You see what I'm going? It's like a very emotional ride, the ride of that particular profession. For me, along the way, there are constant little bits of learning. So here's an example. At the beginning part, oh, good. I'm glad, Jenny. I'm glad. At the beginning part where I'm not sure why they haven't let me know if I booked it or not, and I'm writing narratives in my head, I'm now given an opportunity to go, hold on, I'm choosing to not believe the narrative in my head. Now, many people at this point would say, change it to a positive narrative. I personally am not a huge fan of that and don't tend to do that because I think that's actually living in as much fantasy as living in a negative narrative. I choose to come back to spiritual centeredness because spiritual centeredness is consistent. And guess what? It's based in the energy of awareness. Okay, so here we are back to the topic at hand. So if I'm waiting for them to write me back and go, you got the job or you didn't, and I'm going sad or happy, mad or angry, confused or excited, whatever the feelings are that are happening, I'm allowing them to happen. And then I'm going, you know what? I'm going to center myself in the light of conscious awareness. I go into my spiritual practice and I let sad happen. And I ask the light of the divine to meet me in the middle of sad, the feeling of sadness. And then the light dissipates it and takes the sadness. So I cry and it's moving through me and tears are happening and I'm crying. And then, I'm relieved and the sadness is done. And I realize as the sadness is leaving my body, because I'm there with the light of consciousness in my spiritual practice, I'm given awarenesses. That's what consciousness does for us. That's what the divine brings. Awareness, AKA truth with a capital T, not emotional rides that we go on. Okay, so watch. I'm crying because I feel sad because I've written a narrative about what's happening. I bring the light of consciousness to the sadness. It dissipates the sadness. I cry, 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 cry. And then I realize, oh shit, I wasn't sad because they're not putting me in their play or they haven't written me yet. I'm sad because of what I've made it mean about me that they maybe haven't put me in their play. And I get that awareness through being with the light of the divine, through doing my spiritual practice, through working with consciousness itself. I get the awareness. Oh, I'm actually feeling rejected and not good enough as a person. Wow. Then when I can cry through that, I also come back to the seat of peacefulness and centeredness that consciousness brings me to. And I'm back to feeling totally valued, totally worthy, totally whole and complete as a person, because spirit or conscious awareness takes us to wholeness, peace, centeredness, if we've processed our trauma. Now that's a whole other conversation. But the point I'm making is 9.9 times out of 10, when you're sad about a thing happening in the outer reality, it's not about that thing. It's about what you believe about yourself as a result of that thing. Consciousness is understanding what is true about yourself. Awareness is understanding what is the actual truth about myself. Is the actual truth about me that I'm worthless and valueless if these people don't choose to put me in this play at this time? Nope. I have a ton of value right here and right now. You know why? Because I exist. All of you exist. And at the base of your existence is love. Love loves itself. Existence loves itself. Consciousness likes being conscious. So if you, at the seat of yourself, you're not experiencing love of self, peacefulness, centeredness, wholeness, that just tells you you have a little bit of healing work to do. You have some integration work to do. You have some processing of old fears, judgments, pains, or traumas to do. So you can think of, so let me make that more concrete with an example from my own life. So all those years of acting, and I would have all the feelings come up every time I was like waiting to hear from casting. I took it as an opportunity to dig into, what are the triggers here? How am I being triggered? What do I believe about myself that is making me have this emotional reaction to this not knowing? What are these triggers? And then I'd be like, oh, I have no value unless I book the job. So then I would sit with the energy of that and then bring the light to that. That would change the energy of that. And over time, that stopped coming up. I now no longer believe I have no value because anything out there happens. That particular trigger isn't a trigger for me anymore. There are other triggers I work through on other levels, and one day they won't be triggers either because I will have worked through them all the way down to the core. Because remember, consciousness is presence to truth. Truth is the fabric of reality. The fabric of reality loves itself. Why wouldn't it? When and anywhere inside of ourselves we don't love ourselves is a place we have separation from the fabric of reality. You have to literally be separated from reality because reality is love, reality is awareness, reality is consciousness. So you have to be separated somewhere inside of that from conscious, aware reality in order to dislike yourself. So anytime you're in a negative emotional reaction to something, you could say, you don't want to say to yourself, oh, oops, my Wi-Fi is being weird. Let me just wait till I catch up. I'll take this moment to hydrate. Am I delayed on your end? Leslie, can you tell me if there's a delay? And you guys watching, can you let me know if there's a delay? Do you guys have a delay? Let's see. Yes, the voice. So I think that means my voice is delayed. Oh, it's back. It seems better now. Is it better now? Yes, says Doc. No, says Jamie. That's not helpful. Is it back now? Are you guys okay? Leslie, can you tell me, is there still a delay? Yes, it's okay now. Okay, great. I'll go forth as if it's okay. All right. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jamie, Jenny, Doc, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, thank you so much. So where the hell was I? Emotions, the ride, awareness. Gosh, where was I? Does anyone remember anything I was saying at the end there? I've fully lost my train of thought. Feel free to pop it in the comments if you recall anything I was saying. Thank you, Rahima. I'm glad it's better now. So, okay, let's see if I can find it. So auditions. Yes. Okay. So all those years of auditions separated from reality. Reality loves itself. Yes. Thank you, guys. Okay, great. So if you think of it this way, the fabric of time space is made of conscious awareness. Awareness is just that which is watching that which is occurring. So how could that which is watching dislike anything unless it was into judgment? If it was into judgment, it could dislike things and therefore separate itself from what's occurring. But the witnessing eye of conscious awareness doesn't separate itself and judge. The mind judges. The witnessing eye, like right now, there's a part of me talking to you and there's a part of me watching me talk to you. And and I'm good at that dual consciousness. So I'm pretty decent at being able to like move my hands in ways that go along with the words I'm saying. I'm pretty decent at public speaking because I can hold a lot of dual consciousness. You know, when I'm transmitting light for my clients, I'm aware of how I feel. I'm aware of what the client needs emotionally. I'm aware of where they're triggered and what's happening for them. I'm aware of what's moving out of their body. I'm aware of what's moving into their body, which is the light. And I'm holding all of that. That's called having dual consciousness. Okay. So conscious awareness is the part of me that is aware that all of that is happening. So if there's a part of me that's aware of everything that's happening, who is that part? What does it feel like? Let's all do a little exercise right now. Imagine that, so there you guys are sitting in wherever you're sitting and you're watching me say words. There's also a part of you that's aware of yourself, sitting on your chair watching me say words. Let's get a little more aware of the part of you that is watching you. Okay, so tune into the part of you that's like, oh, I'm aware of myself. I feel my belly, I feel my legs, I feel my arms. I'm aware of what it feels like to be in this room. I'm looking at Katie on the screen. I'm watching myself look at Katie on the screen. That part of you is your conscious awareness. Now, your conscious awareness doesn't get triggered. Your soul doesn't get triggered. It's your personality, your mind, your ego, and your emotional body that get triggered. So what we're doing on the ride of life, in a way, is we're treating or teaching the personality, the mind, the ego, and the emotions to understand their relationship to conscious awareness. I mean, if you want to be on a wisdom path, if you want to be on a spiritual path, that's part of what you can do. You don't have to do that. It's definitely something I'm trying to do, which is to say, consciousness is the realm, you could say the stage on which all the emotions are happening. So if you wait long enough, the emotions pass and then they settle back into the stage. Right? Like if you go to a theater, the stage is empty, the lights are off. Then slowly, like, people come in and they put chairs there and they sit in the chairs, and then the actors show up and they put their costumes and makeup on, and then they enter the stage and they say the words and big dramatic things happen, and then they bow and they're done, and we clap and we stand, and they go backstage and they take their costumes off and their makeup off, and you go home and you put your purse over your shoulder and you drive home. Somebody folds the chairs and puts them away, and boom, silent, quiet, empty stage. That's what it's like to be a person. So the point of having a spiritual practice and having a way that you contact consciousness is to get you back to the space of consciousness wherein, or the place within yourself where you are not separate from anything else and you are back to neutral. That doesn't mean you're not supposed to have feelings. You're supposed to have feelings. But when it comes to how you express them and what you say to people and what decisions you make in your life, it's good to have awareness about your feelings before you communicate. It's good to have awareness about your feelings before you make decisions about what house you're going to buy and what person you're going to date and what food you're going to eat and how much espresso you're going to drink and so on and so forth. Awareness is the key to everything. So in a way, awareness is the thing that happens after the emotions have had their time to be expressed or felt or internalized or processed or whatever they do in your system. Awareness is the thing that after that arises. So I was starting to talk a little bit about, let's say you're going through a thing where, I was using casting as an example. So they're casting, but they haven't emailed me. I get to use that time where I'm triggered as an opportunity to understand the origin of the trigger and then process or heal the origin of the trigger so that I don't have to be triggered anymore. So that if I'm waiting for a casting director to get back to me now, these days, the way it looks is like, I hope I get that play. That'd be fun. The end. The way my system feels about it now is like, well, if I don't get it, wah, wah. Now, what else can we do? And I might have to have some feelings about it and just be like, I'm sad that I don't get to do that play. And that means that I don't get to like meet those people and have more of what I want in my life and have the joy of that experience and all that. But then I get to sit with that sadness, bring the light to that, the light of consciousness into that sadness. And then I come back to neutral again and I go, oh, I'm good. There are other ways to bring joy into my life. There are other ways to accomplish the same thing I wanted to accomplish by booking that play. All of it, you'll notice, it requires that we each be with the feelings and go through them, ideally, and from my point of view, with the light of consciousness holding our hand as we walk through. And as a result, we come to, back to peace, back to center, back to connection to the realm of infinite possibility. Because that also is a quality that consciousness has. Consciousness is the seat of infinite possibility. The emotional ride is where you're caught on the emotional ride, and then it's hard to see possibilities because you're busy on the ride. That's why I'm interested in having conscious light come into my emotions right away when they start happening, because I want to get back to seeing reality as it is, which is a neutral plane of existence within which all things are possible. All right. I feel like I could start talking in circles here. I'm hoping this is making sense. Does anyone have any questions, or would anyone like to hear any further elaborations on anything at all on this topic? Please ask them. Please don't be embarrassed or shy. Or if you are embarrassed or shy, feel that feeling. Let it move through you and ask your question anyway. That being, of course, the definition of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's walking through fear. It's doing the thing you want to do despite the fear, being with your fear and showing up anyway. I had to do a bunch of that in that callback audition, believe me, because they had us dance, and boy, howdy, was that a comedy show. Comedy show. Any questions about this at all? Throw them up in the chat. I have a query. What's the difference between choice and following your feelings? Well, you can choose whether you follow your feelings or not. So, for example, I feel like drinking this drink right now. My body is parched and it wants more hydration, but I'm choosing to put the cup down. So if I were following my feelings, I'd go, I feel like drinking this, and now I'm choosing to drink it. So choice comes after feelings. Is that what you mean? I don't even know if I understood the question, but that's how I understand that question. Let me know if you want more on that. I think what you're kind of getting at is people who teach the idea of like, you can always just choose. It's just a choice. Yes, except for when feelings have you and you need to be with those feelings. This is also like an important point to look at on the topic of what information can your feelings provide about the choices you're trying to choose? In other words, let's say, Daniel, I'm like, I feel like drinking this because my body feels parched. And then I look at it and I sniff it and I realize it's straight vodka. And then I feel like this. I don't want vodka. And the last time I had vodka, it made me not hydrated. It made me dehydrated. Now I'm going to unchoose to drink the drink because of my feelings and the information my feelings gave me. Here's a better example. You have a crush on a person. Oh my God, I'm so excited every time I'm around this person. They give me the highs. And then they show up, and instead of acting on the crush because you've learned something about awareness and you're waiting now, you're going to watch. I feel all these feelings. Then you're going to get to know that person and chit chat and go on some dates. And then you're going to feel the feelings and go home. Then you're going to come back and go on another date. They're going to hang out and hang out and hang out. And on date 4, you realize, oh my God, he's kind of like self-involved and kind of a narcissist and like emotionally immature. And I don't want to date him. And then the feelings change and you go, oh, I don't like him. I don't like being on this date. I don't want to date him anymore. Now your feelings are telling you something very important. This is not a good idea. Don't do it. He's not available. He's an icky person to date. So what are you to do with the fact that the first feelings happened and you wanted to act on them? And if you had acted on them, now you'd be intertwined with someone who later you find out is kind of gross or is not the thing you're looking for, okay? Or is going to cause you emotional pain. That is the point of waiting through the feelings until you have awareness. And oftentimes the feelings will tell you something about reality, actually 100% of the time. Now, let me explain. That first jittery feeling I had around that person who turned out to be not great for me, if I had sat down and felt into that feeling and brought the light of consciousness to that feeling, that excited feeling, I guarantee you, consciousness would have brought me back to neutral. The he would have gone away. And the next time I saw that person, I would have been neutral in their presence. I would have been like, oh, that guy's here. But nobody wants to do that. Why? Because the he feeling is so exciting and we get addicted to that feeling and we want more of it and we want to believe the narrative it creates in our minds. But the he feeling always changes. Now, sometimes you have a real warmth feeling for someone and it's real love, and that love is sustainable and you can be with them and it's healthy and sustainable. That's also a feeling. And you also get information from that feeling. So every feeling has information in it if you bring consciousness to the feeling. But if you just act on the feeling without bringing consciousness, or the light of God, you could say, to the feeling, then you get no information about the feeling. Information is neutral and it has no point of view and it's true. Okay, I hope that's helpful. He says, wow, yes, good, awesome. I'm so glad that's helpful. Good, good, good. Doc Bill, how do we deal with doubt? I think I need you to specify what you mean in terms of awareness and feelings. What does that have to do with that? Do you mean, how do we know if it's awareness, if doubt creeps in? Is that the question you're asking, Bill? Help me understand the question and then I'll respond. Rahima says, this is kind of general, maybe not answerable. How do emotionally defined people experience not emotionally defined people if the latter are healthy? That's a good question. I can tell you how I've experienced them because I am emotionally defined. My first reaction oftentimes to emotionally undefined people, it used to be, it depends on the person and how it shows up, because undefined people who are not emotionally defined can express that different ways depending on the different frequencies in their charts. So it's hard to respond to entirely, but I can say I've gotten pretty damn good at being like, oh, I bet you that person has no emotional definition. Here's how I'll feel in their presence. I'll suddenly catch myself like, I have been talking about my feelings for a while and they are not saying a lot. They are just sitting there receiving it. Or I'll hear a judgy voice in my head that says like, you are talking too much and you are too loud and you are too excited about this, because non-emotionally defined people they don't express the feelings. They amplify the feelings. So when you have open emotional center in human design, you amplify the feelings of the people with defined emotions. So you, the open center person, the non-emotionally defined person, are going to feel a lot of feelings all of a sudden because I'm standing next to you. And now I, standing next to you, I'm going to want to express all my feelings because emotionally defined people express their feelings. So does that help at all? We feel amplified in our emotions and we want to say them more and express them more and feel them more and be with them more. And the non-emotionally defined people are just like doing less and less. I hope that helps. I'm not emotionally defined. So your question was, how do emotionally defined people experience? Okay. Another way I could say is that sometimes emotionally defined people can experience not emotionally defined people as confusing because you're not reacting. You're not having feelings. You're not saying how you feel. If you're having a feeling, it's like doing a different thing inside of you than it does inside of us. So we're just like, why are they not saying their feelings? How do they feel? Why are they not expressing it the way I would? And then hopefully you have awareness enough to go, oh, I'm in judgment of them being different from me. Why don't I, instead of being in judgment, and here's kind of the key point to everything in life in terms of relationships, instead of being in judgment of them being different emotionally, I could ask them a question. Hey, so I notice you're not saying much right now. I'm projecting onto you that you think I'm way too emotional. Is that true? And then you would go, oh, no. You might say like, no, I was just listening, or I think it's really, you have a really great way of expressing yourself. I wish I could express myself that way. And then I go, oh, okay. See, I was writing a whole narrative in my head about what's going on for you. So awareness is the thing that allows us to understand that the emotional reactions we may be having to, in this case, Rahima, somebody not having the same kind of emotional reactions. Awareness is the tool that allows us to approach the difference between ourselves and the other with curiosity and openness and a question, hopefully. I hope that helps. Is there more? Is that helpful? Let me know. Doc Bill, doubt about going forward with your feelings because you've been wrong in similar situations. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. I think I would need a specific example. Are we talking about romance? Are we talking about work? Bill, maybe you can give me a better, more specific example. I'll come back to it in 1 second, even if you don't, though. Rahima says that's very helpful. Yeah, I totally relate to that. I always feel like I'm processing so slowly and people wonder what I'm feeling. 1,000,000%. You are, and they will. And you can just let them wonder. I wonder too, I forget, do you have open throat? Remind me if you have open throat. Jenny, this is really helpful. The writing a narrative of someone else's experience. Yes, 100%. So, Bill, here's what I can say in a general way if you don't maybe want to get into the specifics, which I would totally respect and understand. Okay, relationships. He says relationships. Okay. The doubt of going forward with your feelings because you've been wrong. I think you mean by wrong, you mean you thought somebody felt a way about you that they didn't actually feel. The bottom line is you've got to take a risk and ask a question at a certain point. So if I'm talking about me in relationships, right, and I have a crush on someone or I'm having feelings for someone, and I think they're having them for me, but I'm not sure because I've had crushes before and they did have a crush too, and I've had crushes before where they didn't have a crush too. And the second one is painful. At a certain point, we just have to be vulnerable and honest and go like, we either have to like make a move, like kiss them in the mouth and see what happens, or we have to have a conversation and ask a question. So, hey, I'm starting to have these feelings, and they're here. I'm wondering where you're at. I think we're having the same feelings. Are we? And it's okay. You can tell me the truth. I may be a little sore for a while, but I'll come back, and we can still be friends. But like, if that's true for you, in which if it isn't true for you, then don't do that to yourself. But at a certain point, you got to be brave and ask a question and find out if you get to share those feelings or not. Okay, let's see. Wrong about my reactions to them. Okay, can you give me a more specific example? Now I think I gave an example just now that has nothing to do with the question you're asking. So I need you to give me a more specific example. So are you I don't even want to invent a fake one. You tell me an example and I'll respond. I love you too, Rahima. Yes, open throat, only defined in root, sacral, spleen, and G. Aha. Okay. Root, sacral, splenic, and G. Yeah. So what I wanted to get at for you, Rahima, is that having that open throat and an open emotional center, right? Undefined emotional center. That's going to be very confusing for people with, until they understand, for people with definition in their emotional center and definition in their throat. People with those definitions are going to be like, I feel like this, and I'm telling you about it, and I need you to know how I feel right now. And then they're going to be like, cool, now you. And they're going to want you to do what they do. But for you, it's a very different journey. You're going to like feel your feelings and then like, I don't even know because I'm not you. I don't know how that goes. You'd have to tell me, but it's not like the thing I described. So what needs to happen, like in every relationship, is you need to have people in your life who can go, she's different from me. Cool. And then they need to get curious about you and go, so how does this work? How do you process your feelings? Should I wait a couple days? Will you have clarity then? Like you have to have a chit chat about it so that everybody can have healthy, appropriate expectations. I hope that makes sense. I love you too. It's so good to see you. Really liking someone, says Bill, initially, and jumping in too fast or too deeply. Yeah, exactly. That is the example I gave. Remember I talked about I have a crush on someone and I feel, and I think they're feeling it, and then I make a move and it's too fast, and then I realize they're terrible. Instead of making the move to move forward with the thing because from the crush feeling, what I want to do is take the crush feeling into the light. Let the light dissolve it and turn it into conscious awareness. And then you will get more information. The information might be wait. The information might be this isn't quite a fit. The information might be I'm not sure yet about this person. I don't know them that well. But you can't get that information if you just act from the first initial high. You have to kind of take it to the light and see what it becomes. I hope that's helpful. All right, my friends, I hate to wrap up so quickly, but I'm going to wrap up very quickly because I'm teaching in 1 minute to people who might already be waiting in a Zoom. I adore you guys. I think we're going to set this as our going forward Katie Church time, Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, at least for a while. I had some schedule shifts that mean that's what I need to do. So it has been a delight to be with you guys today. I've missed you over the past 2 weeks not being here. We did just fine in the hurricane. Thank God, knock wood over here. We didn't get it really. We got a minimal tropical storm. And thank you to all of you who asked me about that. So good to see you guys. I'll see you next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and take good care. Oh, bye.